Hi guys, Molten here. Today I just want to walk through a couple of really good opening starter repertoires, perfect for those of you who are more beginner or intermediate level and really stuck and not sure where to start with in terms of your openings. Generally what you want to do is just get a simple opening where you don't have to focus so much on any specific theory and just get into the middle game where you can start playing chess right away. So we'll start with the white side. The first one I'm going to recommend is the London system, which is one everyone recommends when you're first starting out, just because it's just so easy to play and it's very solid and straightforward to understand. You play the move pawn to d4, you bring the bishop out and you go for a general setup here with the white pieces. You can look at more videos to learn more about this particular opening, but this is a very solid choice. Another one which I don't see recommended enough is the Catalan, which happens after white fianchettos this bishop towards the king side, and this is an opening which can work well not just at a starter level, but it will take you all the way through your chess, and it's just an all-around really good opening and one of my favorites as white. If you're playing this more at the starter level, then most of the time your opponents will be playing something along the lines of knight c6 and castles e6. You'll get in this move pawn to c4, and similar to the London, your focus is going to be on opening up your bishop and making your bishop as useful as possible. I find that most players will take the pawn, allowing queen a4, and you'll get a lot of ideas involving the move knight to e5 when you're starting out, and it's relatively easy to play and understand. So I definitely suggest that highly on my list. Another one which is very easy to play is the double fianchetto, which goes pawn to g3 and let's say bishop to g7, bishop to g2, castles, and white will just play some combination of c4, b3 and bishop to b2, also known as some sort of Reti. And this one is very effective. It gives you very clear-cut positions. It's very easy to develop your pieces, and most often than not you'll get some sort of slight advantage from the white side. So this is a very good way to avoid a lot of opening theory. For this video I'm going to avoid the main lines like e4 and d4, but if you want to play into those type of openings, then I suggest you probably opt for one which is less common. Go for maybe a sideline rather than one of the main options. So let's hop onto the black side now. So with the black side, I recommend a couple of opening repertoires, starting with the move pawn to g6, and this leads to a repertoire where you will get into what we call the King's Indian and also the Pirc defense, and these go hand in hand. Our positions are relatively similar, where black is getting a lot of dynamic play, and it cuts down your work you have to learn as well. So I think this is a very good option. So King's Indian against d4, if your opponent tries to trick you and play moves like knight c3, it doesn't really matter because you can also play the Pirc and you're happy to transpose back into the Pirc as well. So that's my second one, and now we move on to other options for black. So we can also go for the Slav, which is pawn to d5, and after the move c4 we opt for the move c6, securely defending our pawn here in the center. But as opposed to Queen's Gambit decline positions, you don't block up your bishop, so this is a little bit easier to play. And the opening that's going to go hand in hand with the Slav in terms of structures and style of play, in my opinion, is going to be the Caro-Kann. And this works really well at the lower level because most of your opponents aren't going to go for the critical lines after e5 or anything like that. Most of them will just capture the pawn, and most often than not this will lead into a very equal game for black, where the position is sort of fixed and the plans are relatively easy to understand. But yes, if you get bored of this sort of Caro-Kann structures after a while, your opponent keeps capturing the pawn, then you can opt for other options as well. So one solid option with e5 is after the move knight to f3, instead of knight c6, where you sort of have to know a lot of theory as black, you have to avoid a lot of tricky gambits from the white side, is just to play the Petroff with the move knight to f6, and this is one line I suggest for black. It cuts down a lot of theory and you just get a game you can straight away get into playing. Also, for those of you who play the Sicilian defense, this is also a very good option, but I would suggest you avoid some of the heavier theoretical ones. Maybe start out with something relatively simple like a Khan, or avoid those big Najdorfs and dragons as well, just to get started with. Maybe go for an A6 Sicilian or an E6 Sicilian. One of my favorites is the Khan, which I started out playing, and this is relatively easy to get started with. So I hope you enjoyed this quick video. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Take care.